On Sunday, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger gave the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, something to think about as the three countries announced their departure from the regional bloc. The leaders of the three Sahel nations issued a statement saying it was a sovereign decision to leave the Economic Community of West African States without delay. The three countries accused the regional body of failing to support their fight against terrorism and insecurity while imposing illegal, illegitimate, inhumane and irresponsible sanctions, in their words. Reacting to the news, Nigeria expressed sadness over the decision of the three francophone countries to quit ECOWAS. The Nigerian government expressed its feelings about the decision of the Juntas in the three countries in a statement signed by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Francisca Omayuli. However, some concerned stakeholders, analysts, have criticized the way ECOWAS have handled the situation, as recently Niger tried to amend ties with the regional bloc by inviting its representatives to the capital, Niamey, but only representatives from Togo showed up. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Nigeria's reaction to the three countries pulling out of ECOWAS and if President Bola Tinubu, being the chairman of the regional bloc, could have handled the matter differently is Dr. Kester Onor, Senior Research Fellow at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Good morning, Dr. Onor, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me once again.
Excellent. So, Dr. Onor, the question, I just gave a brief background into what's going on with the three francophone countries, now alliance of the Sahel regions. They formed an alliance late last year, and they're pulling out of ECOWAS, and now Nigeria's response. Some people have said perhaps the president of Nigeria, as chairman of the regional bloc, didn't quite handle, especially the matter of Niger, diplomatically enough, to encourage them to not take this decision. Others have said, well, that he did the right thing, and we needed to show who was really, in charge and call them to order. But what's your take on this? Well handled or should have been better?
Thank you very much. I believe that the diplomatic process is still ongoing, and if we want to talk about the way ECOWAS handled something, because we cannot just talk about Nigerian presidents, considering the fact that ECOWAS is a regional bloc, and it's not his personal decision and opinion. It's a collective decision by the regional economic bloc, to impose sanction, to at least so that such, unconstitutional change of government will no longer take place in West Africa. If we see the wave of coups, or maybe the resurgence of military coups in Africa recently, such a decision by the ECOWAS head of government to impose such sanction, I think it was a welcome development then. But I have expected that maybe after the initial imposition of such a strict sanction, that diplomatic moves will ensue. Just like we saw the way, even if it's not formal, it can be informal, just like we witnessed how Nigeria sent some traditional rulers from the north and senior citizens, considering the affinity between Nigeria and Niger. And I believe even by imposition of such sanction, you can see that at least apart from that of Gabon, in terms of queue, since then, at least we are witnessing a kind of a peaceful atmosphere. We have not seen any queue since then. So I believe that ECOWAS, they have done well, but I expected them maybe to follow up, maybe after such imposition, considering maybe the trickle effect, considering the fact that maybe a landlocked country like Niger, when you close their border and you freeze the account and all these things, then the citizens are the ones that will suffer the most.
Do you think they should have honored the invitation of the Nigerians to have a conversation just last week? Only Togo showed up. Nigeria said that they said there was something with the aircraft.
Yes.
Some people have the opinion that how can Niger invite the whole ECOWAS? Who are they? But what do you think? Do you think that could have perhaps
No, the truth is that if you look at Nigeria, they're not saying that they are not going. They said that there was a problem with the aircraft, that we have taken the delegates there, and that is equally a justifiable reason. So if they say maybe that they are not going, and when you say that, how can Niger invite ECOWAS?
No, I didn't say me, some people.
Okay, why won't Niger invite them? Niger are passing through they are passing through critical situation at this particular juncture, of their national life. So if they are part and parcel of ECOWAS, ECOWAS is just a whole. Niger is an appendage of that whole. And if a part is suffering from the whole, it becomes imperative that the whole will pay attention to that part. Otherwise, that part became a problem to the entire whole.
This is another one on African continent. I mean, if I'm to chat back historically, it reminds me of the days of, the experiments of Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt when he was trying to have his united, allied, Islamic republic of some sort. This alliance for the Sahel, 3 countries, a breakout portion of ECOWAS, by leaders that have no legitimacy. What's your take on this new phenomenon on the African continent?
Well, if you talk about leaders that have no legitimacy, we have to tread with caution.
But they don't have legitimacy?
That's why I'm saying that we have to tread with caution, because
But they don't have legitimacy?
Yes, even situation where leaders doesn't have legitimacy, they can gain legitimacy from the people.
But they don't have legitimacy?
Yes, but after all, power resides with the people.
But they don't have legitimacy.
They
planted the coup. If you say we have to tread with caution, that means you are conferring legitimacy
I'm not.
on a ragtag Assimi Goita and the man in Burkina and the people that went and usurped the free will of the people to democratically elect, and they took over power, and now they deceived everybody by reneging on hitherto agreements made and staying on the power. Let us call a spade a spade. These people have no legitimacy.
Dr. Rufai, I may beg to disagree to some extent, in the sense that, even ECOWAS, we have come to realize that change of power has taken place in those countries. However, unconstitutional change of power. You understand? And you can see even those that doesn't have legitimacy, they have given France, their colonial masters, ultimatum for them to leave their country. So if you look at the happenings, you understand, you cannot just write them off. And now they are trying to pull out of ECOWAS. If we are beginning to talk tough like this, it won't help situation. Because we don't want a situation whereby our regional economic bloc, which is maybe
what will help the situation? Keep pampering them?
No, not pampering them. I'm coming. We don't want a situation whereby our regional economic bloc will be threatened or we maybe collapse. You understand? We want a situation whereby peace will reign in Sahel region. After all, you can see that Sahel region is a whole theater of insecurity. And we need all this country to work in synergy for us to what? To face headlong this threat that are confronting us. So if we cannot live, I expected by the time they formed that alliance, I actually expected a diplomatic process to ensue. You understand?
Yeah.
Because if you look at the sanction, it has created a serious crisis. And we're not even talking about those in power, because they can always sort themselves out. We are talking about the humanitarian crisis that this sanction has created, And we are not even going to fold our hands and close our eyes and pretend as if nothing is happening, because if we look at our affinity from northern Nigeria to Niger, you can see that even the issue of insurgency, issue of terrorism, all these things, because when there is a blockade, we can no longer work in synergy to fight, terrorists. It becomes a problem. So I think that wisdom should prevail here. And what am I suggesting? I think that there should be a diplomatic move. After all, we still have a year. They just notify ECOWAS in writing that they want to leave. Yeah. And the protocol said that it will take a whole year for them to leave.
But in their statement, they did mention with immediate notice, and I was going to ask you that question in terms of the implications of that. They've said in their letter of notice that they want to withdraw with immediate notice. However, the provisions of the treaty signed by the countries states that they must give 1 year in advance, and during that time they would abide by the protocols and the rules of ECOWAS until. So what happens in the event that they say they want to leave? Can they do that?
No, they cannot do that, because they are signatory to the treaties. Yeah. You understand? That's what I'm saying, that we still have a year, for us to negotiate.
So what does that immediate? What would then happen to with immediate notice, immediate effect?
Well, I believe that as I'm talking to you now, African Union said that they are open, that they will give both that ECOWAS should handle it, that they are going to give them all support without undue interference from foreign powers. Are you getting what I'm saying? Because Africa wants a united Africa. We want a united West Africa. And we want a united and peaceful Sahel region. You understand? So if we keep talking like this, then, when we are talking about peace, I believe that, yes, the sanction has been imposed on them. And others have equally learnt their lesson that we cannot just go, and overthrow a democratically elected government. Am I communicating? Yeah. But at the same time, after the sanction has been imposed, I believe after some time, you now check. The imposition of the sanction is not just to punish the people, it's to punish the government and ensure that they hand over to democratically elected government. They said 3 years, and we said no, that they cannot work within 3 years. You are giving them a year. You understand? So negotiations should be ongoing
so
for us to make sure.
Let me ask a question around the 3 years, because that's a very important point. What they're saying is that the reason they've asked for extended time is that they wanted to tackle insecurity in their country before they conduct an election. That it doesn't make sense to conduct an election when things are topsy-turvy, things are not right in the country, especially with regards to security. Is there any merit to their claims, or is it just an excuse to not do right or keep to their words of conducting an election? Because some people are happy with, the Nigerians have said, irrespective of how they came in, that they're happy with the military junta. No,
thank God you are saying it by yourself. The Nigerians are saying that irrespective of the way they came in, that they're happy. According to data conducted by Premise, they said about 79% of Nigerians welcome the development. You understand?
We saw some jubilation.
Definitely we saw. And then ECOWAS.
Answer the question before I come.
And ECOWAS too should equally take into cognizance, you understand, the atmosphere in that country. The people, Nigerian people, because when we are talking about democracy, democracy is for the people. You understand? So you cannot say democracy to people that say, okay, we are okay with this. And when we are looking about the whole issue about democracy, I think it's high time for us to begin to define our democracy. Because liberal democracy is becoming obvious that the liberal democracy is failing in so many parts of Africa. You understand? I said it here last time that free and fair election periodic election every 4 years cannot be defined as democracy. There are a lot of, when we talk about democracy, we have canons of democracy. You understand? We have the rules of law, we have constitutionalism, we have free and fair election. Are you get what I'm saying? We have the independence of what? The judiciary, we have that of the freedom of the press and the association.
So, Mr. Kester, just to come in here, and I get the position you're advancing, but let me also counter-advance your position by telling you that when Idi Amin Dada got into Uganda, he was widely celebrated. Guess what? His approval rating was well over 70% when he chased out the Asians. But you can see the lasting effects on the economy of Uganda. Till today, Uganda has not recovered. So it is not today that despots get into power, people get excited. The question is it permanent? It's not always permanent. That's always the case. So secondly, when you are saying that these people have some level of legitimacy, but also there's also an opposition brewing in this country as regards what has happened. Please do not get me wrong. I totally abhor any leader that rigs election or any leader that wants to sit tight in power, because that's the cause of the problem in the first place.
Thank you.
So there's also a democratic coup. But should we legitimize people that at first they renege on the ECOWAS plan? Look at people like Assimi Goïta. The transition ought to have been done long ago. He reneged on it and gave all sorts of excuses. Now they're saying they want to fight security before they have elections. But they had elections while the Tuareg rebels were out there, and the problems in Mali still persisted in those areas. So is it that we should now embolden them, or what ECOWAS should be doing is look at possibility of leading an internal rebellion against these people in their own country?
No, because if we talk about leading internal rebellion, maybe remember we have the issue of sovereignty here.
Because we've had cases of internal rebellion. Look at the case of Guinea. There have been a couple of attempts.
Yes.
The military is not totally in support.
But the man. No, but you should know that. You should know that.
So what should ECOWAS be doing? Because we can't allow this to happen, because what is happening is that it's emboldening other people. Yeah. And that's why I had problems when you said the people gave some despot legitimacy.
No, I didn't say some people gave them legitimacy. All I'm saying is that when that coup took place, we saw, quite a number of people celebrating. You understand? Yeah. And we equally maybe saw some initial moves they made. There were a lot of conventions and, people gathering, throwing support for the junta. And even asking ECOWAS that they should give them little space for them to prove themselves. You understand? Then I believe that the initial sanction that has been imposed, yes, other countries have learned lessons. Rufa, you talk about India Mindada of Uganda. You know, the challenge I have is generalizing. When we use a particular case without maybe examining the peculiarity of that case and generalize. All of us, we know that India Amin was a totalitarian, it was a despot. You understand? So these people, they just came in. They say, give us 3 years. It may not be 3 years. ECOWAS say 1 year. ECOWAS say a year. You understand? I believe that negotiations should be ongoing. You know? Maybe after a year, even if they cannot organize it within 1 year, we can say, okay, let's know the extent they have gone. Yes, and review and say, okay, maybe we can give people 2 years. You understand? So if we are talking about maybe allowing them, we are in West Africa, you know what is happening. We want peace in West Africa. Oh. I'm not saying that we are going to
allow them to form
I'm not saying that we are going to empower them on.
So what if they don't leave after that 3 years?
Conversation.
There should be conversation.
Let them meet in the middle. Let them be
thank you. Diplomacy is always the best way.
Okay, let me just ask very quickly, because of that issue around foreign interference. What these 3 countries have said, one of the reasons why they are withdrawing from the ECOWAS is that they believe that ECOWAS has moved away from its initial ideals and principles and has exposed itself to foreign interference. Of course, with the expelling of France, you would understand their feelings around that. And so, what's your take on this? Is there any credence to what they're saying? Is ECOWAS exposed to foreign interference? This support by the US, France, you know, where do you come in with that? Because that is their agitation. Is there any credence to that?
Of course, ECOWAS cannot work in isolation. ECOWAS is a sub-regional economic bloc. You understand?
No, but foreign interference is different from foreign intervention.
I'm coming. ECOWAS is a regional
intervention and interference.
No, I'm coming. I say ECOWAS is a regional economic community bloc. You know, working in collaboration with AU as one of its regional economic bloc, and working in collaboration with other supranational organizations. You understand? So, but here, I think the case of Niger is actually unique. One, if you look at the altercation between Niger and France, especially this junta, and then we see the whole interest that has to do with the mining of uranium, and then we equally see the intrusion of Wagner Group, and eventually Russia. You understand?
Yes.
And the ongoing war between Russia-Ukrainian war. You know, we can understand, you know, their plight. When they're talking about foreign intervention, we can understand that they're talking about maybe France and United States. You understand what I'm saying? And even the way ECOWAS followed Niger Q, all of us, we at least do it. ECOWAS has not done anything like that in the past, maybe with the previous, like the Mali Q of 2020. The Burkina Faso Q of 2022. You understand? So, and the kind of sanction imposed on this junta government, it was quite something extraordinary. You understand? But I believe that there should be ongoing negotiation, at least to relax some sanctions, so that the humanitarian catastrophe will not, you know, will not occur in Niger.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kester Onor, for your insights as always, and your great insights.